Thursdays. I pick up donuts for my department when we have department meetings, because there's a really good donut place from around where people from like literally all over come to, and they're always super quick and efficient. Welcome to another commute Let's Talk session with me first thing in the morning. Hopefully y'all having a good morning. But this morning, I'm going to be more focused now, kind of be more different. I even shaved for you guys. No, I shaved for myself. That's a lie. But this is Let's Talk, and we're going to talk about something I saw yesterday and a little bit this morning, and it made me laugh, is that IGN was trying to do a social media version of Game of the Year, but basically letting people poll for it. Or not Game of the Year, best game of all time. And what's funny about doing something like that is like that's an impossible determination. Like, so anyways, before I get going here, if you guys are watching me here on Twitch, make sure to follow, subscribe, help it out. If you're watching this in the after post up on YouTube, again, remember to subscribe, like, share, comment, do all those different types of things. I'm curious to hear your input on this. But this is just kind of my take. And welcome again to kind of a video podcast I do daily now on my drive, because I got time, and it's called Let's Talk. And so, anywho, I want to get into basically where IGN has now got it in the finals, where it's GTA 5 versus God of War 2018 as the best game of all time. Now, first and foremost, like, there's no real way to determine best game of all time. Secondarily, because of the way that they're doing it, the only people that are going to really do it are young people, like, or younger people on social media, but people that have been gaming since the origin of gaming, or like where it really kicked up. Like, I grew up kind of at the start of gaming. My first console was in like '89 with an NES, and it came with Super Mario Brothers 3, and used to play that game so dang heavily. It was crazy. And so, that's where I kind of started. That Game Boy, Super Nintendo, I mean, just everything from on there, Sega Genesis, PlayStation 2, 3, 4, 5 now, Xbox 360, Xbox One, Xbox Series X, pretty much a little bit of everything. But if that is how, and here's the thing, dude. There's going to be people that take it seriously and vote seriously, and then there's going to be people that basically are just spamming the hell out of it just to screw it over, just to see chaos incur. At the end of the day, it's an unrealistic determination to determine literally what's the best game of all time, because it's hard to compare games outside of different genres. And two, if you don't like a specific genre, you're not even going to care about a game that could be one of the most unbelievable of all time. Now, I think how they should have done it, but this is just me, is they should have done best gaming platform of all time, best action adventure game, best FPS game, best puzzle game, so on and so forth, to be able to determine literally what's the greatest game of all time. Now, that to me is kind of crazy. So when you're trying to determine best game of all time, hey, people who are up on here with me, is like, you're trying to determine best game of all time, but you are going to go to the fans, but half the games in there, none of these people were even a thought around when the game came out, and they're then going back and playing these games based upon their experience with it. But a lot of the people don't realize when you're getting into judging some of these games. So like Zelda Link to the Past, you go into the original Super Mario Brothers to Chrono Cross, or you even get into some of the great games on the, whether it be Super NES, whether it be Sega Genesis, or even get into the early days of the N64. A lot of these people voting never were around when the system came out. They never played it originally. They're either playing emulations and whatnot, and then they're comparing it to things like Mario Odyssey and crap like that. Like, it's kind of a hard stretch there. Two, you're also talking greatest game of all time. You're talking, by the way, sorry for the glare there. It's just nice and bright and sunny this morning. Like, it's complicated to get into all these different types of things because they don't know what it was like to play the game in its origin. They're playing it modern context with all the stain of the new age type gaming, and new ways that things are game and new things that they're able to do in platformers and things like that. Like, it makes it unrealistic for them to do it. So then what it comes down to is IGN is just basically spoofing people to get more traffic and things and stuff like that, because they got to know that this is going to go down. And if they didn't know this is going down, like, okay, IGN, like, you got to be smarter than that. But honestly, it's a marketing ploy. Something like this is, where you get God of War and GTA 5 as the two greatest games of all time. Now, don't get me wrong, God of War 2018 was a phenomenal game, and when you're a dad, it just hits so much more. If you're talking GTA 5, and I'll be honest, I'll be upfront, I'm not the biggest GTA fan, period. But as far as game design and game development and things go, it's a beautiful game. The amount of things that they were able to put in on this game, the environment and things like that. The problem is you're comparing it in different genres that don't line up. And secondarily, favorite game of all time is going to be subjective, period. So what's funny is if you go through and read all the comments and stuff like that, like how much people want what they want to be the greatest thing of all time is it's like their dying wish, which is like crazy scary to me that's people's like dying wish, is that they want their game to be considered game of the year because then they consider their gaming more validated. Like, you don't need your game to be considered game of the year for your gaming interest or your gaming stuff to be validated. If you like the game and the game's great and you're fully engrossed in it, you revisit it time and time again, who gives a crap what other people think about your game? You just want your gaming interest to be validated. I'll tell you right now, for any game that is out there, there is a gaming community that will be out there to support you, and you just need to hook up and find up with it. But with that being said, like some of the matchups in the rounds, like okay, if you really want to get interested in game of the year or game of all time, like, how is the original Final Fantasy VII out there? How is the original, like, Zelda Link to the Past not there? Because that's considered one of the greatest games of all time. How do you not get into some of these, like, Uncharted 2's got to be in there. You got to get into, Last of Us is kind of a hit and miss with people. And I know a lot of people like Last of Us. The story is phenomenal, even though I can't handle it. Me and like horror games, I'm a big ass wuss, so I apologize. That's just who I am. But like gameplay mechanics, the original like Last of Us was it was a little hard, but the story completely, utterly redeemed what it didn't have. If you want to get into a lot of modern gaming stuff, hell, Tetris needs to be in there. Like, Tetris still is a vibrant community nowadays. Like, but the problem is Tetris is not glamorous. It's not overwhelmingly like, oh my gosh, this is amazing type thing. It's just a game that is just a good. It still exists to this day to where people want to play it, but they can't release it because Tetris Corp is like, you don't mess with them. They will sue your butt if you try to share or do anything, emulate anything outside of that. But so like there's all these different dynamics of games. I mean, hell, you got to throw Tekken 3 in there for fighting games, or the original Mortal Kombat if you go in the arcade. But then that's a whole nother slew of genres out there. It's like arcade genres. Like, there's a whole generation of kids that never grew up with arcades, and for us, it was the only way we got to play. I mean, the ability to go play Area 51, Simpsons, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Marvel Avengers, like this whole slew of games that a lot of people never got to play. Now there's a lot of new companies that are actually building these arcade cabinets and bringing it back about and things like that are bringing back that flow, because the people of my generation, I'm freaking 37, we're in professions and careers now that can go and buy this kind of nostalgia-esque stuff to where it's super relevant again. But to me, I want to speak the greatest game of all time, because you cannot determine it. Hell, they can't even determine greatest basketball player of all time between Jordan and LeBron. It's Jordan, but we don't need to get into that right now. But it's all subjective. I could see where you'd pick LeBron. I could see where you'd pick Kareem. I could see where people of this generation would even throw Kobe in the mix and things and stuff like that. Hell, you got to throw Bill Russell in if you're of old type. But when you're talking video games, you can't compare them. Is it handheld? Is it console based? Is it PC based? Is it arcade based? There are just too many different categories to do this. So my only conclusion is, out of all of this, is IGN is just spoofing traffic. Because number one, let's be honest, there's not a whole lot of games news coming out outside of Nintendo Direct, but we got such a short attention span. That happened last Thursday. We're already moved on from it. So like that's not even a thing. So Nintendo Direct's over. IGN's really got nothing to report on. Metroid Dread comes out next week. There's been reports about Crystal Dynamics, maybe being bought up by Microsoft. Okay. NSO Online, yeah, maybe, but they got until the 5th, and they got a dead period right now of gaming before the holiday games come out. That's if they come out, if they don't get delayed because of COVID. Now, if you have any questions or anything for me, or you guys want to drop, or whoever's up watching and whatnot wants to drop their favorite game up in the chat, it's one thing to have a favorite game, and you should always have a favorite game. Games that will just hold near and dear into your heart, to where, like, if it comes out, you will play it. Like, for me, I'm excited about NSO because I want to get a Nintendo 64 controller again, the wireless one, which I got to get my money for that. I got to go to work, which I'm on my way to get ready to teach class right now. But this has been on my brain, and I got to get it off my brain. Actually, I got to hold a department meeting before I can even think about this stuff. And I want to play Ocarina of Time again with the original N64 controller. Well, the new age one that's redone, because I want to remember what that feeling was like when I played the first Zelda 3D, and it hits different. Now I play everything. I play sports games, fighting games, FPS games I'm kind of fading off of because they really get redundant. Now I'll jump back into Halo just because I haven't had a good Halo game in a while, and I've been around since the origin of Halo. But when you from me watching businesses in the video game industry for a long time, and I studied them a lot, but I couldn't get fully invested, couldn't get in the industry because it wasn't big back in the day. It didn't pay back in the day. It wasn't considered like acceptable work back in the day. Hell, I would have been a video game designer and tester. Now, I'm not the best in the world, but when it comes to coding and things like that, that's stuff that's in my wheelhouse. For a time I was MSc certified, C++, JavaScript, and getting into the actual coding stuff to where you can do Unreal Engine at its origin and things like that, which were great. I don't have the time to do any of that stuff anymore because I got to have a job and pay for things. But like I've been following the industry, IGN and companies like this that are just massive companies sometimes got to spoof up traffic, stir up controversy because it's going to just heat up their social media pages to where they're going to get monetized stuff back, so they're getting some constant kickback from it. And the reason I know this is because, I do stuff. I don't do stuff like that to spur stuff up. I'm literally just talking with people on my way because I can't get up regularly during the week because I teach. I'm so damn tired by the end of the day that I would love to be on at night and streaming with my people, former students, people that have just unbelievably supported me throughout, that have already started. I'm 3 months in. Now, the one thing, so you're getting people, and people are getting heated over it because video game to people now are more personal than sports teams. So when you talk about somebody's video game that they hold near and dear to their heart because it's the one thing that they value above most, that's always there, always is a kind of a thing to them, it gets personal, so they go nuts in the freaking comments. They go batshit crazy in there. Like, they even lose their damn mind. And I'm like, hey guys, like, I had a discussion with students in class today. I was like, okay, after you get through the initial storyline with GTA, how quickly does it get boring? They're like, well, I'm like, that's the open world fatigue. Open world games have a fatigue. Every type of game has a fatigue. Is that there's a rhythm, there's a coding, there's so many things you can do within the programming. Once that's over, whether you're modding or not, the game, it doesn't change, and it gets redundant. And that's, to me, kind of how FPS games have gotten, is they've gotten very redundant over time, to where it's hard to really add a new kind of spill or spoof on it. But if you're talking games and stuff like this, like, you got to have Counter-Strike in there. You got to have the original Halo in there. Because a lot of people will clown on Halo now, and I'm not a Haloite by any stretch of the means. People don't realize what Halo did for FPS gaming on consoles. Up until then, it wasn't like overly hyped, overly popular. But when the Xbox dropped, and you got to realize Xbox was a better console than PS2 was, but PS2 had better games. So it's that whole argument, hardware versus software thing. When the original Halo dropped, it honestly, I will tell you right now, and you guys didn't experience, a lot of people, maybe you have. If you're my generation, you're watching this, dude, you understand me. If you're not my generation and you're watching this, very few of you experience playing on CRT TVs. And the dynamics of how pixels work and how color, lighting, and all that stuff works on those different types of environments. You don't know originally how Halo really looked, how smooth it was. There was an actual storyline that got in when you play. And I've heard, some of my favorite people that I like to follow and watch, where there's a guy called Nate the Hate. If you guys watch him, he's got a podcast. He's on Spawnwave and things like that. You also have Spawncast and Spawnwave. All these different people out there that have played the original Halo that I watch. I really enjoy them. Now they are more deep into games than I could ever get into because their life is in this. But they explain the first time you play the Silent Cartographer mission on Halo 1, and if you played it on the original CRT TV, you were just in awestruck of the feel of the gun, the gameplay, the sound, the lighting, the music alone. Like, the music alone, the original Halo just hit different. People of this generation won't get it because they've been so saturated with gaming. They're almost oversaturated to the point where when you're talking about game of the year that comes up at the end of the year with video games, you're talking about when they do these type of cool things, the best game of all time, they're getting to the upper echelon point of where like the Oscars are and the Emmy are and stuff like that, to where they are literally becoming so nitpicky and almost so kind of snooty with how they judge games that at the end of the day we've forgotten that they're video games. Now, they are art. To me, they are art, and they are beautiful, and they are a lot of people, thousands of hours of hard work by tens if not hundreds of people in. If it's a first party game, you're talking hundreds of people developing it. If you're in an indie game or a smaller developed budget game, you're talking tens of people developing it, if not 10 or less, which is crazy when some people do that. It is their hard work, but it's also there for entertainment. And so when we get so nitpicky on these things and we're trying to separate things, we are really becoming, this is where gaming becomes that toxic community and a very exclusive community to where they alienate certain types of gamers and certain types of people, and it drives me freaking nuts. Because I'm not the greatest gamer in the world. By any means, I'm not the greatest gamer in the world. My hand coordination isn't nearly what it needs to be good at it. But that doesn't mean I can't enjoy the games. That doesn't mean that anyone can't enjoy the games. And so it drives me nuts watching all these people try to separate. And, I was in college in the era when Halo 2 freaking went batshit crazy, right? And Halo 2 is what really turned the console generation and the online gaming generation of online FPS, head-to-head battles, challenges, things like that, went batshit crazy, was Halo 2. Halo 2, but that's when you also introduce toxicity into the gaming community. And what you have happen is where games can be helpful. For me, I don't even try to play online games as much anymore. Well, part of it too is I got kids, man. And I got 4 of them. It's hard for me to play online games when I could get interrupted at any time, and therefore it's going to ruin the experience for me or the people I'm playing with. And it's not fair because I'm a dad first. Why am I going to screw over my kids? Why am I going to screw over my family experience, because I want to get an online game and I could get booted, or I could ruin my team score or my personal ranking. Like, who gives a it's like it does. Now, for some people it's personal and it's a career, and I know there are professional gamers out there. By any stretch of the means, I'm not talking to you. It's your career. You better pour your heart and soul into it. It's your career, just like I do with teaching and I do into being a husband and a father. But for the rest of us, like, the whole concept, and I got a whole like video I'm gonna do on this, is referring to people like noobs if you don't do things a certain way. I know people that are gamers that are clowning on people not doing it the quote-unquote professional way. Like people that are professionals, get over yourselves basically acting like other gamers don't matter, because I hate to break it to you, your average gamers are the ones that watch you play that you get to monetize off of. There's a reason you are making thousands of dollars a year, and some people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. For you to alienate your people that basically lift your ass up and pay for your stuff to you can game professionally forever, it's freaking hilarious to me that they want to call people noobs and alienate people noobs and be able to be superior to me. Dude, if your whole life is being superior to me in video games, by all means freaking have it. Like, you could just have it, dude. Like, I'm gonna take the win in being around others, helping others, lifting up others, because at the end of the day, I may not be remembered, but at least I'll be remembered for somebody who's lifting people up and not being divisive. Now, maybe what I'm saying is divisive. Being honest and being truthful, if that's divisive, I'm freaking sorry, man. And I don't feel bad. I honestly don't feel bad, because I'm telling truth. Because if you have to be divisive in order to be important, I hate to break it to you, you're not that important. If you're that important, people will tell you you're important. People will lift your ass up and tout you up. And I'm not here to feel important. I'm not here to be freaking famous. I'm not here to do any of that crap. I'm here because I love talking about video games. I love talking about life. I love talking about sports. I love talking about all those different types of stuff. But I'm also not going to sit here and stir up and get in an argument with people, dude. If you want to get in an argument with me on my opinion, dude, you're entitled to your opinion, and you can believe that wholeheartedly, and I won't argue that one bit. What I will not tolerate, though, is your opinion and your ideals making other people feel crappy about their lives, and that if that's really what you want to do, that's fine. But at the end of the day, if you're going to be on an island on your own, and you won't have people around you that want to spend time with you, want to talk with you. You'll have the argumentative, disgruntled, malcontent types with you. But I ain't, no. I'm just going to say no. I'm going to say something very simple to this. No. I'm going to sit here, though. If you want to chat, you want to ask me questions, you want to share your opinion, dude, I would love that. If people want to speak out and share that, dude, I am all for you. If you're not, and you're here to just be divisive, or my other one that I can't stand is people just trying to make money off people making content, and like, hey, give me followers and pay me, and I'll get you followers. No. You're mooching off people, desperate to make a living off this type of thing, and I get it if that's what you need to do to be successful. But at the end of the day, either you're genuine or you're not. And that's where I get back to, and that's where I always get back to, is like, are you genuine or are you not? Are you doing something that's going to be uplifting in life, or are you not? Are you there trying to just validate who people are or not? And in the morning, that's what I think about when I'm on my way to class. I don't like things that are divisive. To me, picking like all-time greatest game is divisive to me, because people know what that's going to do. If you don't know what that's going to do, you're very naive. And a company like IGN that's been around for a while, they're not naive. They're not stupid. They make money off the gaming and entertainment industry by reporting on it or communicating the latest updates and rumors about it. Great. Okay? I'm not going to get in the rumor game with gaming. I'm not going to get into any of that. I like to speculate because I like to hope to see what could come out and what could see about gaming. I'm really concerned about gaming's kind of future right now. Like, it's becoming big, becoming relevant, but I don't see a lot of originality. I see a lot of rehashed ideas or trying to go back to the drawing board. Sorry, I gotta make sure I don't get in accidents. I gotta be safe while I do this. I don't see I see a lot of the industry afraid to take risks right now. So they're basically making another one in the same line of sequence. They're redoing an old game. I mean, the most adventurous game right now, there's a couple. One, Metroid Dread, I think, is a little adventurous, bringing back a 2D Metroid, but with current graphics, I think. But mixing a lot of kind of almost JRPG and animation cutscenes mixed into the 2D stuff, I think is pretty clever. But it's an old 2D Metroid that they're redoing. Doing Kirby in a new kind of form, which is not a new form, but that I think Battlefield is being, which is why it's getting pushed off by about a month. By the way, next weekend is Battlefield Open Beta, so if you want to get into that, kind of see the kind of see what that game's about. But what they're trying to do with the environment for like an literally open map FPS, I think it's inventive. God of War doesn't look anything too outside, but it's another one in a sequel, which makes sense. The first one was great. You move into there. Spider-Man, I think you're just going to get some more detailed versions of it, but it's literally just another one in the sequence. It's not going to get too crazy, but I don't see, Bayonetta 3 doesn't look anything too outside the box. I mean, you can argue Bethesda's new thing is supposed to be coming end of next year, maybe. Breath of the Wild was kind of nuts because it really tried to take a very controlled linear game that was kind of open but very linear mapping and made it open world to where you had a lot of environmental elements that didn't really exist in a lot of open worlds that you can manipulate and use to your advantage to do things. Sorry, I'm on a really bumpy road here, so if it gets shaky, I apologize. That maybe is kind of experimental or revolutionary. I've been talking a lot about Kena lately because Kena to me is kind of like a breath of fresh air to gaming, is getting back to some of its origins, but its ideas aren't super crazy. It's very much an open linear. I like to call them open linear. It's technically semi-open world, they call it, but it's not anything too crazy. But the gameplay is a combination of like Zelda and like Dark Souls with the big bosses type thing, with some exploration. But it's stuff that's kind of like a mosh pit of a lot of different things. A lot of people didn't like it just because, the problem we're getting with gaming, and it's much like what's going on with TikTok, and TikTok drives me nuts, but that's the whole other thing, and those of you guys know me know this, is that we are becoming so meh with things that people have to go to like unbelievable extremes to get people to watch you, to where simplicity is becoming almost the minority or the rarity, as compared to complexity is becoming the commonality of things with gaming and anything, to where we're even getting bored with movies and stuff like that, or shows, to where shows have to be like stupid shocking for us to consider them to be great, but we don't really see the complexity and the simplicity. You see that little glow over me right now, making me feel like I'm all important? Not true at all. Is that we're missing the simplicity. If you can make something great but it's simplistic, to me that's more complex to make something simplistic great than something that's overly shocking and complex because you're going to cater to everybody's gaming interests to get them to play it. We're missing the boat here. And because of that, guess what? Games are broken nowadays. Games don't get released polished. And so that, to me, is where the gaming industry is kind of in a hiccup now, is that they're releasing broken games because they're trying to do too, like my students tell me sometimes, man, you're doing too much. In some cases, I am doing too much. But in other cases, they just don't want to do anything, and that's a whole nother thing altogether. But in the gaming industry, that's where like these indie games, I think, are really crucial to the gaming industry, that they need to keep coming out, they need to keep happening. And I think that's where Nintendo has, I think, on edge on everybody else. Not that I'm a Nintendo fanboy. If anything, I'm more of an Xbox or PlayStation fanboy. But I'm one of those people that likes to call a spade and truth to truth. A lot of people clown on Nintendo because like all their games are simplistic or easy and things like that. Shit, there's some games there's some Nintendo games you haven't played then. But the one thing Nintendo is doing really easy is that their platform is such that it's easier for an indie developer to break through. And when you have platforms and things like that, there's a reason the Switch is straight up exploding. Is they're not really excluding genres on their platform. They make it easy for all genres to get up on their platform. And when you do that, you're going to make gamers happier. Now, the problem is the Nintendo community is also getting very restrictive, and I've seen this a lot, and I've watched a lot of different, whether it be, YouTubers or people that, kick out on Twitch or just in general, is that they're getting so nitpicky on these directs that drop that no one can ever be satisfied, because if they don't get the game that they want, they throw a big old temper tantrum. And yeah, I said it, they're throwing a freaking temper tantrum. Are you still getting games? Are games still getting produced? Yeah, you're not getting your game in the time that you want it. No one is right now. Game development is so freaking difficult right now. Now, the one thing I will applaud Nintendo developers and first-party IPs in Nintendo is they're very restrictive on, is they really don't let a game release unless it's ready to be released. Now, with a caveat there. Things like Mario Golf, Mario Tennis, a lot of those type of IPs with Nintendo, those almost have become live service games, which at that point, live service game by definition will never be polished and done when it's released. But all of their other first-party IPs, or even to some extent their AAA third-party IPs, they have a certain set of criteria, and if they don't meet it, they're not releasing it, and they will delay it. For example, Bayonetta 3. It has gotten delayed probably so many times because it's not ready to be released, and Nintendo won't let it be released. Why do you think Breath of the Wild 2 is taking a while? It's gonna freaking take a while because Nintendo and their lead level designers and people that run these, all these different types of people, if it doesn't meet their vision, they're not going to drop it. They're not going to let it go because they ultimately take a level of pride in these games. They're not just there to money grab. Now, Nintendo will money grab, but the people, the game designers for Nintendo, they will not. They have an image and a vision, and until that vision and image is met, they won't release. They don't just release trash all the time. And so you're going to be disappointed. You're going to have to wait. But there's such a wide array of different type of games that people want on Nintendo, whether it be your Mario IPs, whether it be your Zelda IPs, your Kirby's, your Smash, your Animal Crossing, your Tetris, all of those different type of genres out there that just because it's such an eclectic platform to me, to me, the Direct was pretty much an A. And a lot of people want dates on games. I don't think they can give dates anymore because they're tired of redacting them. And so you're not going to see all these game date releases on things because them having to change it 100 times over, you're like, you know what? You'll get it when you get it. But we will promise you, and I think Nintendo needs to state this, and they need to come out and state this, you're going to get it when you get it. And when you get it, though, we will promise that it is going to be it will be a completed game that doesn't need a 5 gigabyte or a 10 gigabyte or a 30 gigabyte patch on launch day to be able to function and run it normally. They're going to make sure that it's a polished game and that they can be proud of it. I mean, most Nintendo games that you guys play, there's been no patches that have been released. A lot of them, literally, what's on the cartridge is the damn game. So, anywho, I'm at work. I'm here. I appreciate you guys. I enjoyed kind of the Less Talk stream this morning. I will be up game streaming this weekend at some point this time, so I'll be up on there. I'll be up again tomorrow at 8 a.m. With another topic. I got a couple different ones picked out for each day, and it's going to be gaming, but it's going to go from gaming to sports to life and all different types of stuff like that. Obviously, a lot of it's centered around gaming. But number one, I appreciate you all. I thank you all. For those of you guys that are going to watch this kind of video podcast later today on YouTube, I appreciate you. Make sure to subscribe, like. It goes a long way. If you want to donate to the channel, below on my main dashboard page, if you go to the About page, there's a link to donate directly to the channel, because it helps me get different types of things and be able to do this readily and pay for all the services I got to do on YouTube as well. It takes time to create and different things like that. So anyways, I hope you guys have a great day. If you're a student, I hope class goes well today. If you're a professional, I hope work goes well today and that you're treated respectfully within your workplace. If not, the day ends and you got your people you can go back to. And at the end of the day, if you're just having a rough day, just take a moment and game or do what you need to do. I appreciate you all. I love you all. Peace out. Have a good day.